Hey guys, this is Anthony Morganti from AnthonyMorganti.com. This is episode 9 of the video series where we're taking a look at all the different plugins put out by Topaz Labs. In this episode, we're going to take a look at star effects. Now, let me say right off the top that Topaz Labs is not paying me to do these videos. Okay, we're going to take the simple sunset and I want to get a star effect around the actual sun. So I'm going to send this over to Star Effects by Topaz Labs. So I'm going to right click on the image. I'm going to go down to Edit In and I'm going to go to Topaz Fusion Express 2. That is the free software you get from Topaz that ties all their plugins into one package to be used as a plugin in Lightroom. Now, if you're editing a JPEG or a TIFF file and it's the only copy you have, I strongly suggest you edit a copy with either Lightroom adjustments or just edit a straight copy. That way, Lightroom will create another copy of the image to be sent over to the plugin. That way, if you make a mistake or screw something up, you didn't mess up the original image. Now, in this case, these were from raw files. I already created TIFF copies of the raw files to save time, so I'm going to edit the original and click Edit. It brings up the Topaz Fusion Express 2 dialog box. We pick our plugin. I want Star Effects, and we're going to click Run. Now, I confess I've been receiving tons of emails from folks asking me to do this episode, and I've been resisting doing it because this software drives me batty. And the reason why it drives me batty is because it renders constantly and it takes a lot of time. Now, as you could see, it loaded in the picture into the plugin and it automatically picked this first preset. Now, where the rendering comes in to start off with, if I just hover over one of those presets with the mouse, the cursor, it will render and it will drive you nuts. Let me show you. I'm going to go down to Candlelight 2. I'm just hovering. I'm not even clicking. And you can see at the bottom it's rendering the image. And it's previewing the image now up here in this top preview area. Now I'm going to hover over City Lights and you're going to see it's rendering the image. And it drive you nuts because it's rendering so much. Now, a lot of times you'll jump in, you'll have an image like this sunset, and you right away you know you want to do a sun flare. Well, what happens is you're going to come in probably like this and go down to sun flare, and you can see it's just going to render, render, render. It's going to drive you insane. I clicked on sun flare 3, and you can see it's going to take a long time to get there because it's taking its time to render everything as it goes. And really, that just, I don't know, maybe it's me, but it drives me nuts. So you're going to have to listen to me blab for a while as it's going to do all this rendering until it finally settles on Sun Flare 3, which I actually clicked on. And in the meantime, I'll mention that the layout of the workspace is your typical Topaz Labs layout. Presets on the left, the actual adjustments on the right. So nothing out of the ordinary there. And now I think it finally settled on Sun Flare 3. Now one thing I must say, once it renders once, as long as you have enough memory in your computer, once I go over these images or these presets again, you can see it's not rendering them again. It will only render them once. Oops, see, I must not have done dewdrops, so it's rendering dewdrops. So, so that's an advantage, I guess. Now, down at the bottom, we have these different functions you could do with presets. You could create your own presets. If you do some adjustments that you like and you want to save it as a preset, you click Save and then give it a name and you'll have your own preset in there. You could delete any preset that you created. You could import presets that somebody else could created, and you could export the presets that you created. Down here we have the typical menu with all the different functions that are available in Topaz in general. There is a preferences area there, and you could change it so that there is a choice in here where you could show preset preview at startup. That's right when it starts up, how it picks this first preset. You could have that turned off so it doesn't do that. But it still will render all the others as you hover over them. So just remember that. So we're going to go with Sun Flare 3. And as I recommend many times is I would use a preset to get close to something you like. So I kind of like this. So we'll go with that. We're going to go to the star settings first of all. And we have two different modes, combined and stars only. And stars only is just going to show you the actual star and it's not going to have any of your image in there. So I'm going to leave it on that right now to show you the different star types that are available. Right now we have a traditional star. Let's go to a burst star. Now you can see it's going to render and render. Okay. Um, Now these are kind of general, give you a general idea of what it looks like, because with the main adjustments down here, we could actually change how this star looks quite a bit. So this gives you an idea again. There's a cross star. That's the one I'm probably going to use for this image. Here is a hyperstar. And again, I'm sorry I have to wait because it has to render. Here's a Hollywood star. And here is a North Star. And here is a vector star. So we have these different star types. And as I mentioned, I am going to go with the cross star because it's a little simpler to look at, and I could explain the other functions in the program a little easier with this type of star. So we're going to go back to the combine mode, and we're going to go to main adjustments. Now, threshold is how bright does that point of light have to be in your image for the software to apply a star to it. If you move it to the right, it gets more numb. So that meaning I move threshold all the way to the right, and you can see it didn't apply any star to this. Now what will drive you absolutely wacky is every time you move this slider a little bit, it will render. And it takes a while to render. So be aware of that. Now we're going to go way to the left just so I could show you that if you go, they have the threshold too low, you could see even this like light reflecting off the water is all getting star effects applied to it. So we're going to go to the right a little bit and have it right about there, maybe even a little less, like right about there. Yeah, that's a little better. Now we're going to go, luminance is how bright is it going to be. You could make it really glow super bright like that, or somewhere considerably less. The actual size of this, the star effect itself, so I'm going to move it way down. You can see it gets considerably smaller. And I'm actually going to bring luminance down just a little bit more on that while I'm there. All right, now the angle, right now you can see it's tilted a little bit to the right. If I wanted it to go straight up and down, I would move this all the way to the left. And you can see it's straight up and down. Now I think on this image, maybe it would look a little bit better if it was between 0 and 90 degrees, which, if my math skills are correct, would be around 45 degrees. So I want to move that right somewhere around 45 degrees. 44.33 is close enough. And of course, it's got a render. So there we go. We have that 45-degree angle. Now the number of points, right now we have 12 points. And you could move it down. And some stars, this will be more discernible than other stars. 4 points. I mean, typically, even when it was at 12, the main points were the 4 cross points, you know. So you can move 11. You can see how it affects it. So again, every time you move this, it has to render. So it's going to, might slow you up a little bit. So I'm going to leave it at 9 right now because I'm tired of it rendering. Now the actual spread isn't how kind of big it is. It's kind of like the spread from the middle, I think is the best way to explain it. See how that get more glow in the middle as I move that to the right? And if I move it to the left, we have less glow from the middle, like that. So we're going to leave it right about there. So these are the main adjustments. Now color adjustments, you could, the saturation, just how colorful is it going to be. You could have it, now this is a super saturated image, so I could have it super saturated, or I could have it more towards black and white as I move it to the left. Now right now I'll leave it right there. Temperature to the left is cool. And I'll move it to the left, and of course we're waiting for it to render. So you can see it's more bluish, and I move it to the right, and it will get more towards orange and yellow. Okay, so there's your temperature. Rainbow strength is just kind of a weird slider I found. On different images it seems to do different things. On this image it doesn't seem to be doing a lot. It kind of works hand in hand with rainbow frequency. So you can move these around, and hopefully you have time to wait for it to render and see if it really does anything for your image. In this case, because this image is so colorful, it doesn't seem to do as much. On an image which is more monotone or monochrome, monotone, um, you would see it, I think, more readily. All right, so you could play around with those. So those are color adjustments. Next, we're going to go to these additional effects. We have secondary points between these main points, and we have kind of the spread of those and how many there are. You can see how we're making them um, less glowing, I guess. Now, the actual glow itself of the entire effect. So we'll move that to the right. You can see how we're getting more glow. To the left, less glow. And this is called a ring flare, that circle around there. And you could make it larger, heavier. Well, I shouldn't say larger. I guess that was more like intense because the actual adjustment for that is the spread. This will actually make it bigger and smaller. No, wrong about that. The size, I'm sorry. I apologize for that. The size. The size makes it bigger or smaller. There we go. That's on the main adjustments. So on these additional adjustments, that is just how um, bright that flare is. So that's it. Let's say you like this. You're going to click OK. And it will save it. And it will drop you back into Lightroom with your processed image. And as I mentioned, make sure that you did a copy because you don't want to lose your original image. So there's the processed image. Added that effect. Um, I don't know if I mentioned it already, but I've only used this app actually once, and it was on this exact image. Other than that, I've never used it. I don't really care for it a ton. We're going to do it on this one. One thing I should say, you can see how my little street lamps here, they already have kind of a star effect. You could do that in camera. Some lenses will do it more effectively than others, but typically smaller apertures will get you that. If you use a wider open aperture like f2.8 or something like that, you'll get more of a glow, yeah, like a bulbous glow on the pointed light sources. If you use f13, f16, something in there, you'll get this star effect right here. So keep that in mind if you really want to do this in camera. Now, I had that star effect on the moon, but I actually used Photoshop to remove it only for this demonstration because it was really glowing with the star effect on the moon, and I didn't want it there for this demonstration, so I took it away. And I didn't bother doing it on these lights because that's a lot of work. So just so you know where we stand on this. So we're going to edit this one in Fusion Express 2, and we're going to edit the original. Again, I pre-converted this to a TIFF file, and we're going to go to Star Effects. We're going to click Run. Now this specific image presents some different issues. And again, we're rendering that candlelight, you know, uh, preset right away. And you can see that looks pretty bad. So what I'm going to do, I think, is we want one of these starry nights. So I'm just going to try to carefully just pick Starry Night 1 without hovering over anything else. And let it render. It's going to take a while. And there's a Starry Night. No, don't like any of these. But we'll go to Starry Night 2, see what that looks like. Okay. Ooh, I accidentally hit Sunflare. Now it's rendering. See that? Okay, we're going to go to Starry Night 3 eventually. And it's going right through Starry Night 3, 4, all of them. Well, it doesn't matter. So we got to render those anyways. So there's Starry Night 3, here's Starry Night 4. It's rendering that. And Starry Night 5. Okay, let's go with Starry Night 4. I don't like any of them, but that's going to be our starting point. All right, now we're going to go to the star settings. Now, I don't want any of these stars in here on the buildings. None at all. And that's where the show hide star come in. we're going to hide stars. So we're going to click on the hide button. You could show stars if you prefer. So we're clicking on the hide button and I'm getting the biggest brush possible, which still isn't very big. And I just want to paint over these stars. Now you can see once I let go of the left mouse button, it's going to render. And it takes a while. And so it got rid of those stars. So we're going to get rid of all these stars over here, like this. Okay, we still have quite a few in there that I missed apparently. All these gone. I want those street lamps that are along the water. I still want the stars on those. Okay. And you can see how the star is also reflecting on the ice in the marina here. Um, you know, whether or not I'm going to leave them there for now, just for the sake of argument. All right, so I have that. Now I got to choose what kind of star I want. Let's go see what a North Star looks like. Okay, all right, let's go with the North Star. Right away I'm deciding I don't want them here at all. So I'm going to get rid of them down there by just painting over that. Remember, I am on hide stars. So we're hiding those stars. Now there were some star effects on these lamps already that I captured in camera, so we'll leave that there. And it's rendering like a crazy and crazy and crazy. It's weird, this effect right here. Oh, I see what's happening. Is this is highlighted right here, and as I'm moving my mouse, it's actually choosing different star types. Yeah, that could be annoying, definitely. And I got to wait for it to render all those different stars. This is where like it really turned me off from using the software, really, is the rendering. So if you could get beyond that yourself, see, it's just going to do this until there's no way to get it to stop until it's done rendering. So bear with me. I might have to pause the video and come back to this. I think I'm gonna pause the video and come back. Oh, I think it's done. No? Yeah, there it goes. It was done. All right. Now, as I mentioned, I think I wanted to use a North Star here. Okay. Now I'm going to make sure I'm not clicked on that. See how that's not highlighted anymore? So that my mouse doesn't inadvertently start choosing different star types. And so we're leaving it on that. I got rid of the stars where I didn't want them. And we're going to go to the main adjustments. And the threshold is very low. I'm going to turn threshold up. And doesn't really affect much because I painted out most of the stars down here. We're going to make it brighter. We're going to make it bigger. And we're going to make the angle straight up and down, more square by moving the angle all the way to the left. Let's see what different points look like. We'll go to 12 points. See, that's just looks like a quasar or something there, an exploding star. So we'll move it down to 4 points, looks good. And the spread, that again is kind of the glow from the middle. Well, that's too much. So we'll move that down. And pretty much right there I like. And we're going to go to color adjustments, and I think I want the temperature to be cooler, obviously, because we have ice on the water, so it's kind of a cooler look. And there it is, more bluish. Saturation right there is fine. Let's see if these rainbow strength and rainbow frequencies do anything. You can see it's affecting it somewhat. It's kind of just affecting the actual color of the star effect itself. Go to additional effects. I don't think I want any secondary points. I'm actually kind of happy with it the way it is. So I'm going to keep that down. I don't want any glow, but just to demonstrate, I'll show you some glow in that to see what it does. And yeah, maybe a little glow. Actually kind of look cool, I guess. maybe a little more. And again, I gotta wait for it to render. I'm sorry. I'm sure this is as exciting as watching paint dry. I don't want any ring flare at all, but I'll show it what it might look like. So I'm going to keep that down. Okay. Now, okay, let's say I'm satisfied with this for the moon. I'm going to click Apply. I'm not going to click OK. I'm going to click Apply. Now it's actually applying that effect to the moon and the reflection of the moon. Okay, it's taking a while, but it is doing it. And once it's done, it will do this one little final render, which is taking forever. Okay, okay, so we have that effect. Now, let's say I want to apply a different effect to the other lights. Let's go with distant glow. 2. Again, I'm sorry, it's rendering all over again. So we're picking distant glow 2. Now you could see how it added that glow to the other lights. I don't really care for that, to tell you the truth. Oh shoot, I accidentally hovered over some things down here, water highlights and things. Let's go to Jewel Sparkle. Let's see what that looks like again. Not being very careful with my cursor, and once I hover over a preset, it goes crazy. Okay, let's go with that, just because I'm trying to save time. I don't want this effect on anything except these streetlights that are down here. So I need to go to star settings, and I want to hide the star, and I want to hide it from the moon. Now I already applied that first one to the moon, remember? So when I hide this one, it's just going to allow that first one to show through, remember? And I don't want it on any of the buildings, so we're going to get rid of it from all the buildings. And again, this is the biggest brush available. So let's see how we did there. It has to render. Okay, we don't want it there. 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 And I definitely don't want it there. I don't want it there and there and there and there. So effectively what we're doing, we're applying 2 different stars, 2 different types of stars to this image. One to the moon and a different one to the street lamps. And I'm going to get rid of it all down here. And I don't want it on these lights here. I just want it on these cool street lamps right here. Get rid of it there. All right. Now, the main thing I just wanted to show you is that you could apply 2 different star effects on one single image. So I have this one that we did to the moon, and I have this different one that I did to the street lamps. And again, I'm not really going to be too fussy about this because just to save time. I think I actually gave you an idea how the program works. And when I'm satisfied with that, I will just click OK. And it will bring this back over into Lightroom eventually. And once it renders, and it does take a long time to render. I think I mentioned that maybe a couple times in this video. So if you're into it and you have the patience for it, which obviously I do not, it really does do a decent job. It does well. But this rendering will just drive you insane. It drives me insane, let's put it that way. So then you come into Lightroom, there's the original image, and eventually it's going to render the star affected image in there. I think that's a perfectly good image the way it was, and I liked actually the original moon I had in there with the in-camera made star effect that was on there. I don't know why it's not rendering. I don't know why it didn't render. Maybe I didn't save it properly, but if I didn't, I apologize for that. But hopefully you got the idea of how this app works. Like I mentioned, I've been getting tons of requests from folks asking me to do it. So there you are. I did it. Anything else in Topaz you want me to do next? Leave it in the comments below or email me. Let me know and I'll do it. And that's it, finally, for this episode. Thank you, everyone who watches my videos. And if you made it this far, you deserve a medal throughout this video. If you made it all the way to the end, thank you very much. All right, I'll talk to you guys soon.